Races down, and still yet has there been a clear answer for the title, as 3 more races become the next obstacle for 10 looking to go all the way. The playoffs makes its way to the track Too Tough to Tame and Darlington, South Carolina, where from the virtual Darlington Raceway, we welcome you to the first race in the round of 10 in season 4 of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series. Always happy to have you with us on MaxSpeedTV on a Wednesday night. We're up in the broadcast booth here in Darlington, South Carolina. My name is Kenneth Leno. We continue our run for a championship. 1 week ago, we had our race at Rockingham Speedway. Of course, that was a fantastic one, going all the way to the end. That decided which 5 were going to be eliminated, and which 10 were going to be advancing into this next round. This time, 3 races in this season 4 schedule. Before we'll start, obviously, with our details about tonight's race, what we should be expecting in this event. Of course, we'll take a look at our schedule. This is how far we've come, how far we've gone, and how much still there is left to go. Nashville Superspeedway, Rockingham, 2 tracks that were formerly in the regular season back in season number 3. They made their return this time around in 2022, but as playoff category races. Of course, we had those 2 just a while back, the limited R5, and now here comes the round of 10, which should offer a little more of a cushion for drivers who may have had a bad night over, let's say, tonight at Darlington, or maybe if they have a little bit of a mediocre night at Talladega, they can pick things up throughout the round. More races, of course, that one extra one being at Charlotte. Motor Speedway. We have Talladega next week, and then of course rounding out our entire season once again at an intermediate, but this time in season 4 it'll be over at the Texas Motor Speedway in Fort Worth, Texas. So a lot still to go, but of course there is a lot of intensity to be packed into this round. Specifically, of course, you have Darlington, a track that is known by many as one of the hardest to drive on the calendar. Talladega, of course, being a huge super speedway. We saw the chaos of Dega a little bit earlier on in the campaign, or really the super speedway racing earlier on in the campaign with our first race at Daytona, and of course our second race at Daytona later on in the season. And then of course Charlotte Motor Speedway being sort of that track right in the middle, the intermediate track to provide for a lot of driver skill, a lot of discipline, of course a lot of patience to get to the checkered flag. First, let's take a look though as to where we are in the virtual world. Of course, we've already mentioned we're here at Darlington, but this track has been around for over 70 years. It is a gorgeous mainstay fixture in the NASCAR schedule, hosting the Southern 500, and of course now a playoff race in real-life Cup Series competition this year and a couple of years back already. 1.366 miles, 2.198 kilometers, of course, more than 70 years old. It opened back in 1950. One thing also to behold about this Darlington Raceway and why it's categorized as so tough to drive, you've got two different types of corners on either end of the speedway. Turns 1 and 2 holds a very fast 25-degree banking corner, a lot of radius there. You're going very fast, keeping momentum through the very narrow portion of asphalt, and then 23 degrees lie in turns 3 and 4, the tightest part of this Darlington Raceway. You're gonna have to slow a little bit in order to get through that corner, given the fact that also we do have low horsepower, or rather low downforce, high horsepower machines, so you're gonna have to watch for that as well. Drivers do get loose out of those corners, and Darlington, a very interesting track to say the least when it comes down to it. Right before we get to the starting grid, let's take a look at your point standings, see exactly where the playoffs lie after our first two races and after, of course, our eliminations. Lawson Peel, his win last week at Rockingham thrusts him to over 3,000 points at the top of the board in the playoff standings for the moment. Of course, he has the most points to his tally and the most amount of leeway if he, let's say, were to have a rough race tonight. Eric Schaefer had a solid outing after starting on pole at Rockingham Speedway. He will start, I believe, into the top 10 tonight. He is P2 in the playoffs so far. AJ Green, Colin Forster, Lance Hill, the Stonks Motorsports trio, they didn't have the greatest race at Rockingham Speedway, but somehow they were able to muster a good enough of a finish to end up 3rd, 4th, and 5th on their tally. They are the last drivers in. Mark Harris, the number 5 car, he is the first car out by 4 points. Craig Lounslugger, despite a great run in the first round, he still has yet to reach over the hump in the top 5. He is 7th, only 5 points below that cut line, and then 6 points behind Jesse Prees, 7 points respectively for both the final 2 drivers, Brandon Banks, Cody Kinsey. Of course, everybody below 5th is at risk of being eliminated for the Championship 5. Luckily, they do have some time to get there. Well, drivers are lined up on your starting grid, so of course it is our time to take you trackside and see which drivers start where and where the playoff field lines up here tonight from the track to Tough to Tame. On pole will be the number 12, Lawson Peel, coming straight off of his win at Rockingham, North Carolina. He blazes with a 29.207 to be the first one to see the green flag. He'll have Austin Riddy on his outside in P number 2. Colin Forster starting, of course, coming off of a rough race over at Rockingham Speedway. He'll try to pick things up tonight. He starts inside row 2 in that 3rd position. Brandon Banks will be to his outside in the 88 machine. Row number 3, you'll find Stocks Motorsport driver AJ Green lining up the top 5. Craig Lounslugger, he's done well at this track before. He's competed for wins at Darlington in recent 4-wide racing history, so watch out for that 13 as he starts outside row 3 in P number 6. Jesse Prees, Jaden Porter are the 2 to round out your top 8. Kyle Benson, Brady Weileman, the 10 and the 44 will be the last 2 into your top 10. Eric Schaefer just outside of the top 10 in qualifying. He is 11th. Ken MacArthur will be to his outside in P number 12 before you find Lance Hill in his famed number 1 machine, although he usually drives at 38. Mark Harris will be to his outside. Remember, Harris, that couple of points shy from Championship 5 eligibility going into this round. Curtis Kelly, Kevin DeLee are the 2 drivers in the top 16. Tony Kimmett, Cody Kinsey, the first 2 not to take time in row number 9. And then in row number 10, Tyler Warner, Tyler Murray, and then Christopher Bishop, Ricky Rosner will be back to 22nd. And they are the final 2 drivers here tonight from the virtual Darlington Raceway. Let's take a look at the weather before we get started. It is a rather cool evening. I believe we'll be racing into the sunset and the nighttime tonight here in South Carolina, with track temperature at 75 degrees, only 3 degrees higher than what our air temperature is at 72. We got no humidity and barely any wind to the west side, so we should have a gorgeous night of racing here at the Lady in Black. Ready to go, round of 10 playoff racing with Lawson Peel and Austin Reedy, the 12 and the 11 at your front row. Green flags in the air. We're racing from Darlington. It's a solid lap 1 for the driver of the 12, already into the race lead at a turn 4. Austin Reedy slowly behind, and similar to Rockingham, again, nobody willing to make a move in the opening laps of this race, and they want to be very careful before they make any sort of moves. Let's watch Colin Forster slip into third, his teammate AJ Green staying behind in P4, and everybody avoiding that outside wall that juts out at a turn 2. We're going to be talking about that over the course of the evening tonight, but so far, number 12, Lawson Peel, already at the front of the field at the helm of the ship. He's not been afraid to command this race so far in the opening 2. A little bit of a push by Austin Reedy there in the last lap or so, but Reedy holding on for second. You may have to worry about the 99 of Colin Forster. Set a faster time than the 11 last time through in the opening handful of corners, so we'll see if that ends up happening. A pass for into the top 5 happening right now. This is Craig Laumslugger underneath Brandon Banks. Saw a slight mistake out of the 88, and it looks like Forster is in deep trouble up in the outside wall into turn 4, and that will bring out our first caution flag of the evening. Forster's car all torn up. He also caught Lance Hill, his own teammate. Jaden Porter was one of the drivers to get by barely, but Forster, his car absolutely totaled. I think the worst that we've seen a car in the entire season. And the Martini Racing throwback off to a hurtful start as of lap 4. We'll see what happened with the driver of the 99. Of course, this was right behind second place Austin Reedy, so he was already in contention for top 3 and maybe even the race lead if he had picked up the pace, but something happened in 3, and it was right there. A big hit there. I'm not exactly sure how that exactly happened. It was the 11 of Reedy, got down to the inside, maybe lost the race car. Right on board the 99 of Forster, entering turn 3. Of course, Reedy had picked up the pace on your race leader. Then Reedy dives low right about here. Things happen dramatically, then a hit and then a slam. AJ Green goes into him as well. That's what rips off the front bumper. Indeed, Jaden Porter involved, Brady Weileman, Kyle Benson. They both get a piece of that. Doesn't look like they're too damaged. Lance Hill goes for a spin, and it is a huge crash. You look at the wheel rolling at the exit of turn 4. That is on behalf of the 99. And Forster will immediately have to look for the faster pair. He just missed his pit stall, but of course, that is glaring damage enough to get that faster pair, and the 99 of Forster is already up on his way. So a dramatic crash in the opening 5 laps here from Darlington, and it involves one of our playoff drivers. So Forster will have to be on the back foot for the rest of this race. Of course, coming out of pit road, he will be listed as 15th on the racetrack, which doesn't seem too bad considering we only have a 20-car field, knowing that 2 drivers did not start. We were supposed to have 22 on our grid tonight, but still, that is a lot of damage assessed to Forster, and that is going to hurt his confidence just a little bit. Here's Lance Hill, Brady Weileman on pit road. Looks like Weileman got some right front damage and some right side damage on his Camaro as well after the first yellow, but it is not enough damage to warrant a faster pair, so he's going to fix that, and he's going to be out on his way out of turn 2. Lance Hill, the Stonks Motorsports teammate of the spinning Forester car, he is back out on track in 19th, and I don't believe he used his faster pair. Didn't get any damage apart from maybe some flat spotted tires. That may be a big topic of conversation if he stayed on that set, but for the moment he's going to be all the way in the rear, and we will assess ourselves under the yellow flag. So Lawson Peel leading this race from the pole tonight, and he had a stellar comeback at Rockingham Speedway just 1 week ago. Take a look at how this all unfolded. It all started with a crash at a turn 2, back straightaway, trying to catch up to Jaden Porter in the mid-pack. Had some toe link damage, you see right there on the right front. Had to lag his car all the way to pit road. Got the fast repair, but ever since took care of his car swimmingly. And it was not easy to get back to the front, including this beautiful battle 3-way between Jesse Priest himself and Craig Laumslugger, 1, 2, 3, all while AJ Green and a couple other lap cars were in front. And Peel had played his game perfectly, waited for the right time, and then Jesse Priest ended up making a mistake closer to the end of the race. This is the final 37 laps of this Rockingham race, and here is where the mistake arises out of the 0-0. Getting around Colin Forrester, a lap car slides up, hip checks the 99, goes sideways. Fortunately saved it, so no caution came out, but it was clear headway for Lawson Peel to make that move for P1, and he never looked back. Stayed ahead of the 13, came out of turn 4, and got his 6th win of the 2022 season. It has been an unbelievable campaign for the driver of the 12, and it continues that way as he will lead this race on a restart on the outside lane, lap number 8 of 147. So AJ Green this time, he would take over P2 with the fact that Austin Reed and Colin Forster had been involved in that incident into turn 3. It'll be Brandon Banks, Craig Laumslugger. We saw them tussling for 5th. They now move up another row, so they're 3rd and 4th right now. Curtis Kelly in the 71 is wrapping up the top 5. Jesse Priest into your top 6. And so the 12 will be the control car on the restart. Pace car makes its way down onto pit road. And it'll be Lawson Peel at the helm of the restart, lap number 8. Still early in this race. Curtis Kelly goes for a wiggle, but we're back under green from Darlington. Looks like Kelly fell back significantly throughout the field. He falls to 8th, but we single file once again. And Lawson Peel remains in your race lead. No battles around the top 10, top 5. They've already pretty much separated themselves 7th on back. Kyle Benson, the last one in this train of cars. He was slightly involved in that incident there in the opening laps of the race, but didn't pick up that much damage, and maybe not at all. And so the Chevrolet Camaro up into the top 7. He's put a gap almost a full second on the 71 of Kelly, who we saw outside in the 3rd row, but ended up basically wiggling the car, got a little bit looser, maybe just got hit on the way to the green flag, and so he will have to pick things up. Here's on full with the 10 of Kyle Benson, swerving to the inside of Kevin Talia, and Benson, an eliminated driver from last round, unfortunately was not able to pick things back up in the final race over at the Rockingham Speedway. He goes side by side with D'Elia before backing out in turn 2, but Benson rocking a very interesting set of colors on his Camaro tonight. If you've been watching the 4Wide Racing Cup Series for a while, Season 2, you'll notice this paint scheme when he ran it on the Gen 6 car in his first ever 4Wide Racing Cup Series season. He used to have Milwaukee on the side of the race car, but now, of course, he's got 213 Simware, a gorgeous throwback to a successful rookie campaign for the driver of the 10, and we'll talk about that all evening long. These colors, very different for a reason. We're at Darlington, and that means tonight is our throwback race. So we do have a lot of throwback schemes and a lot of stories to tell you throughout the course of our broadcast here on MaxSpeedTV. On board with the 12, Lawson Peel getting a wiggle out of turn 4, and now here comes AJ Green to the inside for the race lead. AJ Green makes the pass in turn 1. Peel backs out, and AJ Green to the race lead for the first time here tonight from Darlington Raceway. And the 12 will back out, but he will try to hold on. A defensive stance against Brandon Banks in 3rd. Craig Laumslugger, we saw them go for position earlier on tonight, and it was a mistake at a turn 2 that forced his hand, and the 13 made his way. Jesse Priest has now slid into the top 5. And of course, we did talk about Kyle Benson fighting with Kevin D'Elia for that 6th position. He finally gets the spot over the 53, but at a cost of lost time. Colin Forster, we saw him on pit road. He's already back to 8th, so a solid recovery for the 99, who had a 4.9-second pit stop, getting the fast repair in a horrific crash in turns 3 and 4. So Forster already back on his game in the opening segment of tonight's race here from the Darlington Raceway. AJ Green pulling out to already more than half a second on your second place car, and your pole sitter tonight, Lawson Peel. And AJ Green already on a quick jump and a getaway here in the opening 14 laps. So Green will try to look away. Remember, Green has multiple wins in this 2022 season. Picked up his first at Richmond via a last lap chaotic finish when the yellow came out. And the last attempt at a green-white checkered finish, tried to finish in overtime, but unfortunately it didn't work, and AJ Green had stolen the spot in front of his teammate Colin Forster just before the yellow came out. And then it took a while before AJ went to victory lane again. It would be Daytona, 3 races out of the regular season finale, or really until the playoffs started, and the 48 went back to victory lane at Daytona Beach, Florida. So good to see AJ Green, of course, continuing his route through the playoffs, and he is one of the former drivers that ended up into our Championship 5 one season ago. So Green trying to repeat that. Of course, he's got his Stonks Motorsports teammates to assist him, the only driver being the outlier here that has not been a part of the playoffs now that we've concluded our round of 15. It is, of course, the driver of the 14, Adam Alashire, who forfeited his playoff spot, so he was basically out of it since the drop of the green over at the Nashville Superspeedway, which was unfortunate. Austin Reedy had done the same. They claim that they cannot make all the races in the playoffs, so they'd rather give it to somebody who can, and unfortunately, we will not be seeing them run for a title. Alashire, of course, ran for the championship last season at Atlanta Motor Speedway, but unfortunately, we haven't seen him in a little bit, and he is unfortunately also not here tonight from Darlington. There's a pass developing further out through the top 10. Kevin DeLeo, we talked about him getting passed by Kyle Benson, and he continues a free-for-all. Maybe could be outside of the top 10 before we finish this run. Curtis Kelly, when the problems on the restart, is able to go around, and Curtis Kelly rocking a colorful Pepsi scheme. This is in honor of Jeff Gordon. I'm pretty sure this is the scheme that went to victory lane at Talladega and had all the beer cans get poured and thrown onto the racetrack while Gordon was celebrating in the 24. Not many people were happy with Jeff Gordon that night, and a beautiful throwback though, and a nice job with Curtis Kelly to have the number placement in the right way, have the Nextel Cup Series contingencies, and have the Yoda on the front end as well. Hopefully he can get some of that Gordon magic to victory lane tonight. We talked about Kevin DeLeo falling that position short to the 71, and he will fall another spot short, this time a Dale Jr. throwback on behalf of the number 1, but usually we call him the 38. That is Lance Hill. For Stonks Motorsports, Jaden Porter working to the inside of the 53 now, so DeLeo continues his move backwards into the top 10, top 15. 28 of Porter will stay to the bottom side. Porter, a rookie driver. Remember his win a couple of weeks back in the Nashville Superspeedway, has had a very successful opening handful of races in his rookie campaign. And the 28 makes the move, and he'll have another rookie on his rear side. Kevin DeLeo will. That is the 44, Brady Weileman. His first start at Watkins Glen had some troubles, and DeLeo backing out on the outside of turns 1 and 2. Weileman will look down low. It'll get very narrow before DeLeo now strikes the outside wall. Will not shoot back down the track to avoid calamity, but 4 cars now tucked in together back to turn 3. DeLeo strikes the outside wall, will open the door for Weileman, and not only himself, the 44, as Riddy gets loose at a turn 4. He'll be able to save it, so we will stay green, but it opened the door, I was about to say, for the 33, Tyler Warner, making his way into the top 12. Warner on board with him at a turn 2, just trying to modulate the throttle. This time a good run on the 44. We'll look to the inside. Cannot find a run, so we'll stay behind. We will remain single file. Warner, of course, former winner here in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series over at Daytona. And did not become a playoff driver this time around in Season 4, but it's been nice watching him on the racetrack. Now looking to the inside, Kevin DeLeo, maybe Eric Schaefer in the 22 behind will follow. And it'll get very narrow there in turns 1 and 2. Warner will slide up and will take the position away in the Red Bull throwback. That's Red Bull Racing back when they used to be a NASCAR competition, 2011, 2012, and even a couple years before that. DeLeo struggling with this Camaro at the moment, hits the outside wall again at a turn 2, opens the door for Christopher Bishop, now finds Austin Riddy to the inside, and maybe even Mark Harris, who we talked about a couple of points outside of that Championship 5 mark. Of course, still time for Harris to make that ground up, but Harris is going to need a solid run especially given the fact that AJ Green has walked away with the race lead. He is inside that top 5 range, and he is already a second and a half away from Lawson Field. So Green with a lot of opening run pace, and we didn't see this too much over at Darlington last time we were here with the Gen 6 machines. And AJ Green putting on a performance to start, and he's going to look to continue to run away, and that will help, of course, by the time we get to maybe our first round green flag pit stops. It could be a possibility. We had our first caution at lap number 4, and really nobody went down pit road just because it was only 4 laps in, so we may end up stretching ourselves on fuel, and of course drivers having to conserve the Goodyear Eagles. On board with the driver of the 88, Brandon T. Banks. This is a Dale Earnhardt throwback on behalf of Drinkin' Bros Racing, and you'll find that trend very prevalent around the Drinkin' Bros Racing camp because Lawson Peel has the same thing. We have a couple of more drivers with the same paint schemes and same tributes to Dale Earnhardt and his NASCAR legacy, Jesse Priest, also running a black and red Goodwrench throwback on behalf of the number 3, the 7-time champion in the NASCAR Cup Series. But we're on board. This is a look at how to drive Darlington, a very interesting track. And given the fact that you've got very different cars, these Gen 7 cars compared to Gen 6 last season, it's a very different way to drive. If you cross the start-finish line, you end up at turn 1. Remember, 25 degrees here and a very fast section of the track, but you do have to lift off. And some drivers like to diamond it, float up high to the outside wall, that red and white striped outside safer barrier, before tucking back low just before that apron comes in on that dash line and it becomes basically faded away. You stay in 5th gear. Some drivers like to shift down in 4th when they brake for turns 3 and 4, and many of them like to stay high. It's the fastest lane here at the track, too tough to tame. That's a nice lap there for Brandon Banks, although he just got a little bit loose out of turn 4, and that may lose him some time to his Drinkin' Bros Racing teammate in Jesse Priest. Of course, both of them playoff drivers, and the 88 of Brandon T. Banks, a former Championship 5 competitor. I think we'll talk about that trend over the course of tonight. In our first 27 laps, we've already kind of exaggerated it, maybe made it ad nauseum for the moment, but nonetheless, Brandon Banks looking to get back in that place, maybe secure himself his first ever 4-wide racing Cup title. So maybe we have a battle for second developing. Kyle Benson has been picking up the pace here on the 13 of Loudon Slugger, and while we were on board on that first lap with the 88, he had let off the throttle. Well, that was intentional for Benson, but it will stall the progress. Caution flag comes out for the second time tonight, and we believe it's Eric Schaefer. Yes, it is. Driver of the 22, the silver Dale Earnhardt Sr. throwback, also part of the Drinkin' Bros Racing camp. He goes around that looks to be the front straightaway, turn 1. And so Schaefer will bring himself back to speed. Of course, no damage on his Camaro, so rather a harmless spin it appears to be. And we'll take a look at the replay, see exactly how this all unfolded. So maybe some help, not sure if it was all by himself. And indeed looked like all by himself. Solo incident. Austin Reedy floated it down the track. Looks like he might have gotten loose as well, but for Schaefer, just a simple incident that goes around getting loose. We saw a lot of drivers already get loose out of turn 4, just trying to plant the throttle in, and that transition on the banking, not really kind, especially given the fact that this surface is also pretty worn. This track has been around for a long time, and the 22 goes for that spin. Fortunately, locks up the brakes in enough time, stops right in front of that lift kits for less 200 sign, and does not get any damage. Whole field goes by, and again, I think the only biggest worry here, if you're Schaefer, is a case of flat spotted tires, and he's going to spin again. That's entering turns 3 and 4. This is coming into pit road, and he will get it back to at least a place where he can come back in, and he almost missed it by a large margin, but the field is in, and pit road stops this time by for your leaders. So field taking 4 tires and fuel. Lawson Peel getting the jacks up on the left side. AJ Green already getting it. It looks like Peel with a 2-tire call will take the race lead as a lap number 30, a quick getaway. Rather, I think, no, 4 tires on the 12 of Peel. 14.2 seconds on his stop. So just a faster exit than AJ Green. And I believe Green had overshot his pit stall, so that helped the 12 get back up to the front. And a beautiful stop by our 6-time winner this season. Gets him back to the place where he started this very event. Into P1, AJ Green, of course, falls back to second. Kyle Benson was staying behind the 13 to Craig Loudon Slugger. That was within the top 3. but he had found his way in. 14.2 seconds on his stop as well. A 48-second overall pit time. So he ends up third. And Colin Forster, how about that? The stop, 13.9 seconds. 4 tires and fuel, but Forster making his ground back up after the incident in the opening 5 laps of this race. And Forster with a lot of heart in him. That Martini Racing throwback already back in the game. That's a lap number 31. And what a way to do that. Brandon Banks still in the top 5. I think Prezon back really haven't changed all too much. Craig Launslager is puncturing his way into the latter half of the top 10. Remember, of course, he was deep within the top 5. He is now 7th. And that is basically it for the drivers on pit road. We do not have anybody 1 lap down or more, so that's a good sign at the moment in our opening 31 laps. Eric Schaefer, of course, with that harmless spin, he now, I believe, will come back down pit road. Actually getting out just now out of turn 2 in the 22 will be 19th, not dead last on the racetrack. That title will go to the 33 of Tyler Werner, who must have had a long stop or maybe an issue, maybe a penalty issued as well to the driver of the 33. So we keep eyes on that, but for the moment, he will not be a lap down, and every single car is on the lead lap. So our second caution coming out here from Darlington, South Carolina. Lights will be out on the iRacing official pace car, so we will go back green as of lap number 33 of 147. Still a very long way to go, but you can imagine that was probably the saving grace for the entire field because nobody had pitted as of lap 4. That opening caution was too quick to come out. Nobody decided to come in for their tire sets nor for fuel to extend it all the way. Of course, we are going to have more pit stops before this race is over, no doubt about it, but I think they definitely needed this considering the fact that they were very close around getting to that portion, 40 to 45 laps. We usually see on 75% fuel that the field will come down pit road, and we were going to have maybe our first look at green flag pit stops, but obviously caution setting it into a pause, and everybody coming down pit road, so everybody back on the same page, just like we were at the start of this race. And the pace car will make its way down onto the apron there off of the 23 degrees of banking in 3 and 4. And this time again, it'll be Lawson Peel at the front of the field, using the inside lane this time by. Used the outside lane on the last restart, helped him to perfection back to turn 1. And it looks like as they enter the Geico restart zone, that number 12 will be set off and away. Green flag back in the air, and another good jump by your race leader. Maybe a battle for second. Kyle Benson trying to chuck it in on AJ Green. They can't do so. Field single file is back to turn 1 and 2. Staying within the margins of each other. First battle side by side around the latter half of the top 10. Jaden Porter under heavy fire. Once from Launslager, twice from Brandon Banks, and now a third time for Brady Weileman. The 44, the 2 rookies going at it for position. This is for 7th. Curtis Kelly now to the inside in turn 1. Porter will almost shut the door in the middle of the corner, but Kelly finds a way to the inside, and they'll be door to door. Kelly takes that spot away as well. Porter falling backwards. Here comes the 13. Launslager with a huge dive in 3 and 4 will wobble back up the track with the diffuser hitting the asphalt, and he'll stay underneath. Looks like Porter will have the advantage, but we have a battle for the lead. Here comes AJ Green inside Lawson Peel, turn 1. And here in Darlington, we talk about the discipline you need to have as a driver, and this track noted as the track too tough to tame for a reason. You need a lot of skill to get around this place. You also need a lot of patience, give and take being used here at this track. Tonight, you saw it there with the pass for your lead, AJ Green going to the inside and Lawson Peel taking notice and saying, all right, I'm not going to fight you, I'm not going to waste my tires, I'm not going to waste my car or potentially hit the outside wall or get into you trying to fight you for it. So I'll hold on for a second and I'll see you in just a little bit, although Green already up to about half a second of an advantage, just like he did on that last run, and it may not be over for the 6-time winner. Kyle Benson goes to the bottom and will try to build up a run out of 3 and 4. Lawson Peel will go high, looks like checks up in the apex, and now here comes the 10 with an opportunity to take fight. Right on board with the number 10 machine, Kyle Benson, in that 213 Sinware colors, the throwback from his very first season. He is aiming to make that pass complete, although Colin Forster may have something to say about it. The 99 adding himself into the battle for second, so this may not be over, as I believe they're side by side for fifth. No, they are not anymore. Jesse Prees getting around his Drinking Bros teammate for a moment, but Banks will swerve back to the inside, and Prees will give way. So the two Drinking Bros Dale Earnhardt throwbacks making their way to 5th and 6th. A very solid run for both of them, and we talked about Jesse Prees and Brandon Banks putting up good runs in these 4-Wide Racing Cup Series playoffs, and for the most part, that's really all you need, especially at tracks that demand a lot out of you. It was a vigorous first round with Nashville Superspeedway, a concrete track, a very hot track surface that can really wear out even the best of drivers with the low downforce package. And then you think about the track right after, Rockingham. Again, another test of discipline, another test of how good you are at wheeling a race car. With the track very bumpy, even more so, more bumpy than the newer track Nashville Superspeedway, and a lot more banking. It's a shorter track, and a lot more challenges to be held, and these guys had good runs, especially Prees dominating a majority of the race, and unfortunately it did not go in his favor with that mistake that we talked about a little bit earlier under our first caution. But the driver of the 00, I think if you want a good run in the playoffs and you want to have one that isn't too flashy, one that isn't too highlight-ish, then you would think of a run like this. Consistent top 5s, consistent top 10s, and overall just consistent pace over the season. And we talk about that. We harp on how important that is to have in a playoff format, because one mistake, much like in round 1 with only 2 races, you have a bad first race and then your back against the wall in that second race. Unfortunately for the guys that were eliminated, they do not have the fruits of the labor to see the 3-race format here in this second round, which will give a little more of an advantage for the guys who maybe don't have the best first race tonight from Darlington. If they don't put their best foot forward here tonight, they can pick things back up at Talladega at Charlotte. But then you also think about the sentence I just said. Talladega, the second race. If you go in with your back against the wall in a deep hole by the time you go into Talladega, then good luck. Talladega being as unpredictable as ever. I think Charlotte is probably the most predictable race out of the group. Darlington can be topsy-turvy depending on who you look at. As Kyle Benson had made the pass complete for second, and there may be a pass for third on the way. Colin Forster, remember, he was sneakily behind the top 2 and top 3, and now he was looking for position here. Looks like Pio has just fallen off of the pace over the past couple of laps, specifically on this run. Lap 42 right on board with the 99, and so far Forster looking for a build-up. You really have to make these passes at the entrance of maybe turn 3, and you have to really get it at the exit of corners. You have to do the passes on the straightaway because there's not a lot of space. Very narrow piece of concrete and asphalt there in every single corner, not just 3 and 4, but also 1 and 2. You see that dash line at the bottom. It is very hard to keep yourself above that, and then obviously not think about hitting the driver to your outside or inside just because it's so tight, very narrow, and more narrow than most of the surfaces we usually race on. A lot of the tracks we've seen very wide and usually have a lot of space to make passes complete, but here at Darlington, you have to pick and choose your moments. You have to be very selective of where you go and how you make your passes. Craig Lounslogger moving up to 9th. That was a pass on Austin Reedy into the top 10. Remember, Reedy started P2 tonight in the TJ's team number 96. This is a throwback for the driver of the 11. It's a Brandon Gillis looking car that Team Hers designs. The 13 with a 2000 Jeff Burton throwback back when he used to ride with the Ford Taurus and the Citgo machines. And these colors have worked for the 13. I can remember back at Martinsville a couple of seasons back, he rode that paint scheme after Darlington and did a phenomenal job, led a good amount of laps, and obviously that race was very messy at the paperclip, but he did lead some laps and did have some standout moments as he'll follow Jaden Porter into turn 3. This is an attempted pass underneath Curtis Kelly, and Austin Reedy trying to form himself into the battle as well. Kelly getting very loose in the corner, will have a shot by the 11 of Reedy, will send Reedy back to the inside and almost could have wrecked the 71 in a turn 1. Now Brady Weileman looks to the inside, and a long line of cars awaits the 71, but fortunately the 71 of Kelly is able to stop the bleeding out of turn 2. They will back again, go single file. And I believe Kyle Benson is caught up to your race leader. Indeed, it is so. Last time by, a 29.813 for Benson, a 29.855 But this Marty Robbins throwback of AJ Green has some little bit of differences. Of course, AJ Green on the side of it and some other decal changes. The face on the front end of the hood is not what Marty Robbins drove back in the day, but it is a inspired paint scheme. And the 213 Simware Camaro already hot on the 48's heels, trying to take P1 away. And Benson, of course, getting eliminated from that last round in the round of 15, and will still look for another win, though. Just because you're not in the playoffs doesn't mean you're not hungry for race wins. Benson looking for his second on the campaign after basically having a walk-off race in the regular season finale at Kansas and getting the win there, which locked him into the playoffs, but could not keep the points gap high enough, at least over the cut line, to get himself into this round and, of course, to run for the Season 5 title. But you got to give a lot of credit to the driver of the 10, staying aggressive and staying as hungry as ever each and every week. But that time by, little bit too eager out of turn 2 and slaps the outside wall. Not sure if there's any significant damage there to the 10 as a result. It doesn't appear like it affected the handling as he brushes the wall once again, but that will basically give up all the time he gained on your race leader. And again, Benson hitting the outside wall, so things are going from bad to worse. And I think the right front is starting to give up in the opening part of this run. Driver's already 20 laps into the stint after coming down a pit road. So Benson now starting to struggle, and Forster found a way around the 12 of Lawson Peel. We still got a battle here out of turn 4, but Forster will get the run out of the 23 degrees of banking, and Forster moves up into P3. So on behalf of the rest of the field, everybody mostly single file. Here's a look around the top 6 on back. This is rookie Jaden Porter trying to hold off Jesse Prees. Remember, Prees was right behind Brandon T. Banks for that 5th position, but Prees might have had a mistake and has fallen back. Austin Reedy just behind. Same deal for the 13. They're still going at it for P number 3 as Lawson Peel gets by the 99 of Forster. So we may have this tag team going around, and maybe they end up bringing in that 88 of Brandon T. Banks. We'll just have to find out. We'll wait and see whether that does become a possibility or whether that actually does happen. It looks like Jaden Porter in that span that we were looking back at the battle for 3rd has given way for the likes of Jesse Prees, Austin Reedy, and Craig Lounslugger to go by. So maybe just got trapped on the inside, and not many places the 28 can go. And Porter usually runs the Alex Bowman colors, the ones that he runs this year in 2022. Got his first win in the Alex Bowman Music City paint scheme that he runs every year at Nashville Super Speedway, and then came back to Watkins Glen his first start, and of course the other starts after that. Those were all the normal white base Alex Bowman paint scheme, but tonight running a throwback to a Hendrick car, but from 2007. This is a Casey Mears throwback, still with the Allied colors, but rocking that very famous neon Hendrick font number. And those numbers definitely memorable in the Hendrick Motorsports stable. If you can remember, Jeff Gordon obviously running those. Jimmy Johnson getting his 7 championships running neon yellow colors on his paint scheme. Other than maybe 2013, but for the most part, he ran the neon yellow colors. The 5 car, Mark Martin used to race that. Kyle Larson now running the 5, but he doesn't run the neon colors anymore. And so Porter throwing it back to a very interesting point in time. The car of tomorrow, 2007, back when they were in that transition period between Gen 4 and Gen number 5. So Lawson Peel again falls sort of a position. Brandon Banks has slipped his way in his second. So we did talk about his battle with Forster and whether that was going to bring the 88 in. That answer happened to be yes. So Peel just continues to fall back, and he's been basically a -4 or 5 since the drop of the green on that last restart off of the most recent caution. And he seems to be struggling with the handling. That car getting way loose in the entrance of 3 and 4. And you saw it there, him having to fight the wheel, wrestling the race car back to straight. And here comes Jesse Prees to the outside. This is for 5th. Looks like Theo not having a good time as the track temp continues to go down. Take a look at the sunset in between the clouds, the dark ones here in South Carolina. That's why this track temperature is so low, 75 degrees to start, and it continues to go down as we race into the sunset. And of course, that will give more grip to these drivers naturally, also with the added amount of downforce there is in this car, apart from Gen number 6. But Austin Peel struggling with his car, and it looks like the tires have worn out. Maybe have burned the rear tires too much. Maybe fighting Forrester and trying to keep up with your leader right now in 0.7 of a second above Kyle Benson. That is, of course, the 48 of AJ Green. Here comes Craig Laumslager trying to make a pass complete. Of course, we talked about Jaden Porter. He's on the outskirts of this fight for 5th at the moment, trying to catch up to the 13 to indeed get to the 12. Peel, I think, is praying for the moment that a caution or at least a break in the action comes out as he gets loose out of turn 4. Laumslager will think about a crossover, but will back out of it before turn 1. But I think he knows with the ailing rear tires that the 12 has at the moment that Laumslager will be able to, at some point, make a pass complete. And right there, so the pass will happen. Peel gets loose, and it opens the door, gives the space for the 13. And Peel now down 2 spots in 1 corner. And maybe Curtis Kelly would be the next one as the 12 again loose out of turn 4. That car struggling for any amount of grip. They're fighting behind them for position. That's Austin Reedy and Lance Hill. May split the middle. No, they don't. Going into turn 1, and Peel will almost lose the race car back to the first corner, but he will stay ahead and stop the bleeding for now. And here comes Reedy with a crossover inside. Hill will look to follow in a 3. And Peel almost sliding into the 11 will crush the outside wall once, maybe twice. Mark Harris, Brady Weileman in a fight for position as well behind them. Weileman tags the outside wall, and Peel now down outside top 10, P11. Well, these guys have gone in approximately 30 laps on their stint. Of course, this is off of the most recent yellow. Everybody pitted for the first time, took their first set of Goodyear Eagles, and it looked like the whole field took 4 fresh tires and fuel. And it looks like Peel just used up his stuff a little bit too early in the low downforce, also not helping his cause. And again, we talk about the newness of these next-gen cars, and so many different things come into play when you think about a driver getting loose, or maybe even tight as Benson slides into the outside wall for a moment out of turn 2. The tires on this car, very different, and the rims as well from Gen 6. Back in Gen 6, you had 15-inch steel, aluminum, or rather steel tires. Yes, not aluminum on the new ones, but the new ones now, of course, they are aluminum. They are also single lug, which is not really a problem here in the sim because you don't have manual pit crews, so you won't see the mistakes with the lug nuts that we've seen in real-life NASCAR Cup Series competition. But in these next-gen cars, you have bigger wheels, 18 inches, of course, a lot more air intake with the fact that these wheels made by BBS cover a lot less space than the Gen 6 tires, which usually had little holes in them. These ones have bigger holes that the air can easily go through and cool the brakes and the rest of the car. But in the case of the fact that you have bigger rims on these next-gen machines, you also have lower profile tires, and lower profile sidewalls means less grip when you're getting sideways. Once that tire starts to go laterally, once it starts to push sideways, that sidewall isn't going to give you as much give as it would have if you were driving Gen 6. Most of the time in Gen 6, you can see drivers get loose and they can hang it far out. Also coupled with the fact that those cars are shaped differently, they're not symmetrical, so they have side force. These cars do not. So when you get loose and wear out the tires, the factors of that, and also given the fact that you've got a full underring and underbody in these cars that pushes the air in the middle, and when you get sideways, it pushes the air and it basically stalls your race car. It is a very tough task to get that car straighted, and we've seen the struggles already with the real-life Cup Series cars, as well as these drivers here in the sim that continue to adjust to these new updates that come out with this car every single couple of months when they get data from NASCAR. So right on board with the 88 of Brandon T. Banks, the Dale Earnhardt Sr. throwback, Kevin Harvick throwback. This is a good wrench throwback, but this is Kevin Harvick's debut paint scheme in 2001. And his infamous win at Atlanta Motor Speedway over Jeff Gordon, trying to get around the Martini Racing number 99 Forester, weaving down a dime in the arc, but his car getting loose out of turn 2. And much like the situation with Austin Peel, the fact that he did get loose opens that outside lane, and Brandon Banks takes the fastest way around 3 and 4 and will edge into the top 3 for the first time tonight. Oh, and here comes the 99. 88 got loose out of turn 4, so Forrester will try to return the favor into turn 1, but backs out before he could do just that. Jesse Priest has rolled into 5th, and Jaden Porter, Craig Laumslager, you watch them, we're going side by side for 6th, just behind this little tail of cars, as Forrester gets closer to the back bumper of Brandon Banks. will not make a move just yet. Forrester will hold through, and we are, though, getting closer to our first round, maybe, of green flag pit stops tonight from the virtual Darlington Raceway. So AJ Green leading this race by that much, half a second to Kyle Benson, and we continue our way through this round. The first race of the round of 10, the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series. You're watching our continuing coverage here on MaxSpeedTV. We'll take a short break, but on the other side, more coverage of the track too tough to tame.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12-Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
We've been waiting for this moment. Generations of innovation all coming together in one place. The pedigree of more than 70 years of NASCAR Cup Series history, from the past to the present, from Petty to Earnhardt to Elliott. Today, there's no more waiting. The future of NASCAR is now. Drive the next-gen cars today on iRacing and step into the next generation of racing.
Back with you live from the Darlington Raceway as we continue our race in the first event of the round of 10 for the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series playoffs in Season 4. A yellow has just been brought out at lap number 75. As soon as the field were starting the first round of green flag pit stops, AJ Green, you watch him and the rest of the leaders come down pit road, and it was Jaden Porter going for a spin out of turn 2 on the back straightaway to bring us our most recent yellow. We'll take a look at the replay, see how that resulted into that caution. It was a single car spin. Don't believe anybody else was thoroughly involved. You watch the leaders take up the jacks and get their tires on pit road. Benson trying to race Green off to the line, but Green will be able to win the challenge. So Green will hold on to the lead. Lawson Peel with a sluggish run out of pit road. And in the far side of that shot on the left, you can see the bright red, white, and blue number 28, Jaden Porter, who is the cause of our most recent caution here as of lap number 76. We'll try to see exactly how it all unfolded. Of course, it was a single car spin by the 28, and this was obviously on the last leg of the green flag run before we ended up having our first batch of green flag pit stops. Craig Launslugger, Ken MacArthur, Curtis Kelly were among those that did come down for service, as we'll take a look at exactly what happened with Porter. That is Ken MacArthur in the 97 behind the 28. And remember, MacArthur had hit pit road earlier on before the caution came out, so he didn't get struck. But with some of the bad luck here, it was out of turn 2, right about there. The car steps out. It was right in front of MacArthur, some slight contact. It was Forster going by. I believe Austin Reedy did the same. And Porter trying to get back up to speed, almost comes into traffic. But fortunately stays out of trouble, and the 28 will revisit pit road, I believe, or is just going to exit here, merge back. And a turn 2, and there are your leaders as it stands. AJ Green, of course, winning the race out of pit road. He will command our field back on the restart, and there are the lap down cars that got struck, including playoff driver Craig Launslugger. That was absolutely the last thing he wanted to see going into that green flag stretch, because he anticipated it would stay green. And he is basically the only playoff driver one lap down, because Curtis Kelly and Ken MacArthur and everybody else who had pitted, including Tyler Warner, Jaden Porter involved in that spin, obviously not a part of the run for the championship, so that won't be a big factor to consider for them. It will be very big for the driver of the 13, who will now have to work around pace car and will try to unlap himself. I think now he is officially going to be waved around, so he will not be a lap down on the racetrack anymore. So that's good news for the 13, but he's got fresher tires, or rather, everybody else has fresher tires apart from him, so a lot of work needed to be done if you're that 13 of Craig Launslugger. So while we're under caution, we'll remind you that our coverage here on MaxSpeedTV of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series playoffs is brought to you by 213 Simware. 213 Simware offers fun novelty sim racing apparel with a variety of sizes, styles, and more for you to enjoy and rep sim racing on and off the track. Shop today and learn more at 213simware.com. So we will double the field up. Of course, those 3 lapped cars are going to weave their way back behind the field. And we will enter the Geico restart zone with 79 laps in the books from Darlington Raceway, as the sun has officially set over the South Carolina skies. And we are racing into the nightfall. Of course, track temp has definitely decreased since we went green. And actually, no, it stayed the same, but air temp has decreased by only 1 degree. It has remained relatively cool. So the grip levels look to remain consistent over the nighttime here and for the rest of this race. Green flag back in the air. AJ Green with a good jump over the rest of the field. We'll see what happens as the field chases back for turn 1. Brandon Banks potentially in a ruffle here with Colin Forrester. Move to the inside. Forrester will look down low in turn 3 on the 88 and will nose ahead for a moment. Banks will stay tough on the top side. But AJ Green with a convincing lead, already up to 0.3 of a second out of turn 4. Now Forrester finally clears for 3rd. They almost scuffle back for 5th on back. That is Austin Reedy, Jesse Prees. They're leading that group of cars. Lawson Peel back to 7th. And everybody single file as Benson, I believe, almost struck the outside wall, trying to catch up to the 48 of AJ Green on board with the 10. As the The better exit this time for Benson out of turn 4. And we'll wait for the moment to strike. Turn 1 and 2, maybe the jackpot here for the 10 and Benson. He stays tucked behind, tries to get a slow in, fast out approach, but breaks even with the 48. And I think we'll lose a little bit of ground as well to Colin Forster back in third, so they will all stay single file. And again, similar to the opening runs after every single caution, we usually see some door-to-door action, but for the most part, especially in turns 1 and 2, they want to be patient, they want to be conservative. Nobody wants to go side by side, but as soon as I say that, Lawson Peel finds a way outside on Jesse Prees, but there's the give and take I was talking about. Prees backing out in 1, not trying to stay even with the 12 into the corner, so he would give away that spot. Remember, Peel struggled heavily with the grip on his race car, and the last part of that run, while we were under green. So if there's one thing to notice about this 12, is that he needs to up his game when it comes down to saving those Goodyear Eagles, because he suffered basically the worst end of the stick in that run, getting very loose and falling outside of the top 10. Of course, the 12 in that Dale Sr. throwback starting in P number 1. And the one car right behind him, the Coca-Cola machine, ran at Motegi. Dale Earnhardt Jr. ran with the number 3 of his father, Dale Earnhardt Sr. So now it's cool to see the Dale throwbacks all in a coalition here. And then in the midst of that, a Hendrick Chevrolet throwback. This is also a throwback scheme that Mark Harris has been running for a while. Not special here tonight from Darlington, but the 5 has moved up into 9th. He is one of our playoff drivers. Remember that. Harris coming into this race a couple of points below that cut line for the top 5. So Benson still eyeing that 48 machine, the Marty Robbins throwback. The bright pink and yellow colors on behalf of the 48. And now Forster will build a run out of turn 4. Maybe this could be the pass we were looking at, but it will not be the case. So Forster will stay back. And I think Forster, off of the race at Rockingham Speedway a week ago, was lucky that he was staying above that top 5 cut line. After a race that he went a lap down, he started up front, performed well in the opening stint, but it looked like nothing went his way after that. Struggled some issues and then struggled with some issues and then went a lap down. That was basically a lap down for the entire race to the back half of the field. I think he had a good enough of a cushion in the point standings that he could have had a bad race there and still survived after Nashville Super Speedway. And of course that second race at Rockingham, and now at Darlington, I think picking things back up. And this would be a tone setter in the positive direction if you're Colin Forster. You need a good race tonight, and what you want to do is just maximize the amount of points back to 5th as much as you can. And of course, with the spot right in front of him, Kyle Benson, that's occupying P2. Benson is not a playoff driver, so Forster, I think, definitely wants a lot more and would want to get ahead of that 10 just to add that extra point to his tally. And Benson being basically our non-playoff spoiler tonight, it's been a fight between mostly yellow bannered cards. That's how you tell these drivers are in this second round going into the Championship 5 later on this year. And Benson with the normal black banners that you find on the normal NASCAR Cup Series race cars when they're not in playoff mode. So Benson obviously eliminated. He's taking up that spot. And Forster wants it in P number 2, but just cannot find the speed nor the momentum to get there. As we'll look back in the fight for P6, Lance Hill slowly catching up to the likes of Lawson Peel. So maybe we have something develop here. In fact, it almost happened right there, and there was a big stack up at a turn 2 for both of them. But it offers the space for Lance Hill to make a move inside in turn 3. We'll stay door-to-door with the 12 coming out of turn 4. And that outside lane, again, like I mentioned earlier on tonight when we were on board with Brandon Banks, the fastest way around that part of the track. Here comes Eric Schaefer. We saw him spin earlier on tonight to bring out a caution, but he has since got back in the game. He is up inside the top 10. And how about the rookie, Brady Weileman, into the game? We haven't talked much about the driver of this 44. He was involved in our first caution tonight with Colin Forster. Was up on the outside wall, had nowhere to go, and that's why you still see some of the right front damage on his Chevy Camaro, but Weileman has not been phased since that very caution came out on lap number 4. And the rookie driver who made his first start at Watkins Glen, obviously not reflective of the speed that Weileman had, considering that he basically got crashed out of that one, Forster slamming into him at the exit of turn 7. Weileman hadn't made starts after that, but tonight he's back at Darlington, so good to see the 44 back in action in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, and he may also, much like the driver of the 28, Jaden Porter, be a strong force in the rookie category next season if they can make a full-time effort. I think that will be very exciting, considering the last couple of seasons have been marred by rookie drivers taking over. You think of season 3, Colin Forster, AJ Green. These guys are mainstay names now in this series, but back in season 2, they weren't even there. In season 3, it was their first handful of starts, their first full-time season, and most of them made the championship 5. It was a huge statement by all of them. Now in their first full-time seasons, and look at the statements they've made since then. Forrester with wins, AJ Green with wins, Alashire putting up great finishes, and the entire team making a collective effort. So to see Brady Weileman, Jaden Porter perform as well as they do right now, it could also provide for an exciting season 5 when we get to it, if we stay with these next-gen cars, and maybe they could put their names into the ring of 4-Wide Racing Cup Series winners. Right now, you're looking at around 1st through 4th, and actually 1st through 5th. Austin Reedy has caught up to the back bumper of the 88, so this 96 machine, well, TJ's Team 96 is displayed on the car, but our telemetry tells us it's the 11 on his Camaro. Reedy doing a solid job. He is also another non-playoff spoiler, the only other non-playoff driver in the top 5, apart from that 10 of Kyle Benson. And so we'll see what Reedy can do. He stays behind the Kevin Harvick fullback, Brandon T. Banks, as they come out of turn 4, and you watch the gap between Reedy back in P number 5 and Lawson Peel, who has lagged back right in front of Lance Hill in P number 7. I think maybe some connection issues there a little bit for the 12. Lagging out for a bit. Lance Hill will pick up some ground in 1 and 2. We'll see if a pass is made complete. So far, the answer seems to be no. So Hill will stay back there for now. And caution flag now comes out. Lap 94. And it may have been the 33 Tyler Warner, very slow going into 3 and 4. And I figure maybe some toe link damage on the right front of the car. And you could see the wobble. Indeed, there is on behalf of the Red Bull Racing throwback. So Tyler Warner in trouble. Bring us a caution on lap 95 of 147. We'll see how the 33 got into peril. And given the fact that he was all by himself, we can obviously assume a single car incident out of the silver machine. And this is out of turn 2. I think similar to the accident we saw with Jaden Porter, although it was just getting looser. And actually, it wasn't Warner. It was Lounslogger who got into trouble before then. So the caution comes out on behalf of our playoff driver, Craig Lounslogger, and then after that, did Warner hit the outside wall. This is against the 93 Cody Kinsey. Curtis Kelly making a dive move to the inside to avoid contact. And the 33, a nice job of hopping on the brakes, and then there are the problems arising out of the 33 at the exact same moment. So Lounslogger brings out a caution here at lap number 95. And the field comes down pit road. AJ Green leading them down. Austin Reedy missing his pit stall. And we'll see how the race off of pit road will go. Remember, Kyle Benson was back in 2nd. He now comes out of his stall. AJ Green arriving out now. It is door-to-door to the line. And I think AJ Green had him by nose. Indeed he did. So Green avoids a lost spot again, as Kyle Benson challenged him for it. But AJ Green holds strong in P1. There's a look at Craig Lounslogger, the cause of our caution. He's now heading down pit road. He's going to be joined by the 98, Ken MacArthur. Remember, Ken MacArthur was a lap down tonight. I believe he still is. Actually, yes, he is now. The field is coming around. So Lounslogger will lose all his spots. I believe he will stay on the lead lap. And Lounslogger coming off a flurry of great finishes at Nashville Superspeedway and the Rockingham Speedway, both of those top 3 finishes on his behalf, and was doing a solid job tonight at Darlington, usually known as one of his best tracks here in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, but tonight hasn't had the strongest run, not the most dominant. It was good enough to keep himself good in the points, but that little spin and his trip down pit road is probably not going to help him at all, and he will be starting back in the rear of the longest line. And the good news so far tonight is that we only have, as of our 50 lap to go marker, Only 3 cars 1 lap down or more. Of course, we mentioned Ken MacArthur going a lap down just now. He is also joined by Tyler Warner, who with that repair on the damage, he is still down pit road. He is 3 laps down. And then we have our first DNF of the night, P20. That is the 53 of Kevin D'Elia. We noted his fall back through the field earlier on in the opening stint of the race. And I think there were more issues that came out of the 53 tonight. So unfortunately, D'Elia will not see the checkered. He will be awarded, of course, 20th place points. But obviously, you don't want to be dead last going into a race. And so D'Elia, our first and only DNF tonight. We were supposed to have 2 other drivers, including our league owner tonight, Tyler Murray, who was set to run a number 8 machine based off the Huck Strickland Circuit City car back in the 90s. But unfortunately, he didn't make the green flag either, had some issues, and he did not see the starting grid. And so we'll double them up and try to go green once again. And it's AJ Green at the front of the field. And this pit stop should put it very close to the margin on making it to the end of this race. Of course, as of that crossing of lap 98, we have officially 50 laps to go. There's a lot of time left. And remember, we saw drivers in that opening stint go around lap 35, lap 40. That was the window to come in for service. So drivers may cut it in half. We'll see how they play this strategy here, and especially how the mid-pack tries to switch up the game if they want to get around the dominant 48 tonight, who ever since he took the race lead has really yet to look back and had the fight with the 12 of Lawson Peel, had a fight with the 10 of Kyle Benson. But these restarts have been all in his control, and he will man the outside line on a restart for lap 99 of 147. Pace car makes its way down to pit road. They will enter the Geico restart zone, and AJ Green leads them off. Lap 99 underway here from Darlington, and a solid move on the outside for the Stonks Motorsports teammate Colin Forrester, working the outside of Benson, who will back out in 1 and 2. And we are single file other than Brady Wildman and Jesse Priest to the back straightaway. Remember Kyle Benson in that last run under fire from Forrester, but the 99 was just not able to put a run together, and now they've got more teammates in the mix because Lance Hill, I think the first time we see him into the top 4 all evening long. Jesse Priest now in the midst of a group. That is Austin Reedy working to the inside. Lawson Peel working his way down low. Cody Kinsey, a playoff driver who we really haven't talked about all night long, running another Dale Earnhardt Sr. throwback, the Wheaties Chevrolet Camaro tonight. Mark Harris under fire from Craig Lounslugger just outside of the top 10. And as Lance Hill makes the move on his teammate for third, AJ Green has broken away 0.3 of a second and growing for the 48 with 47 laps to go. Green holding on for now, and Lance Hill will see if he can make a move on the 10. Some good short run pace out of this Dale Jr. throwback, and we haven't talked too much about Hill in the front of the race. He's been near the mid-pack, around top 5, top 10. I think as the night has fallen, he has gotten better. That number 1 car has turned itself alive. Right on board with the driver of the 1. Trying to modulate through 1 and 2, get the nice arc out of the corner. Almost hit the outside wall there and doesn't want to end up in the same situation as Kyle Benson. We saw the 10 do that multiple times tonight. And so Lance Hill will play his cards and will hold on to the patient game. Colin Forrester, ever since giving that spot away, he's been sort of falling back. And I feel like that's what we've been seeing. We haven't really seen drivers here at this track, ever since they give a spot, they don't necessarily come back forward unless somebody in front of them that made the pass makes a mistake. Usually when they give up position, that's usually it, and they usually go on a sink down through the field. Unfortunately, that may happen here with the 99 of Forrester, because Banks works his way to the inside in turns 3 and 4. There's also a battle for second. Lance Hill finds his way underneath Kyle Benson, so finally Hill makes a move on the 10 and will eye down his 48 teammate. As Brandon Banks and Brady Wildman go at it. Austin Reedy, also the 3rd car in there. Williman makes the pass complete. But Brandon Banks will nose his way back to the bottom in turn 3. But Brady Wildman getting the best on the brakes. So the 44, the next level racing machine. First time we see Brady into the top 5 tonight A solid run for his Camaro. We'll see if he can catch up to an ailing Colin Forster, who is now starting to fall back through the field. And I think Kyle Benson might have had a problem. Indeed so. He comes down on pit road. So an interesting call by the 10. Doesn't look to be any damage on Benson's machine. But an awkward timing pit stop at lap 105 for the 10 of Benson, who was rolling in P3 just before this call. Oh, and there's right front toe link damage. I just noticed the wheel leaned up sideways on this Camaro, so there was a slap to the outside wall, and I can recall maybe turn 2, the problem spot again for Benson. Take a look as he was riding behind the 1 out of turn 2. Too much gas, car floats up high, and a slam into the outside wall. He got away with a square hit earlier tonight in this race, but that hit was hard enough to give him toe link damage and almost about hit the inside wall on the way down too. So Benson, with an unfortunate circumstance striking him at the worst possible time, will move Colin Forster to 3rd, and Benson now becomes another car 1 lap down in 18th. So Green up by 0.8 of a second from the driver of the 1 machine, his teammate Lance Hill, and then his teammate Colin Forster. All 3 of them winning 1, 2, 3. This would be a beautiful effort for all 3 of these cars. And I talked about the struggles that Forster had dealt with at Rockingham. And AJ Green, Lance Hill, they were in the same boat. You can recall earlier in that race, Lance Hill, I think a couple of others had stayed out on a certain stop on that one and only caution in Rockingham, North Carolina. It stayed green for the rest of the race. Hill had to deal with old tires and green flag pit stops. And then he basically just had to suffer the consequences of making that one wrong call, anticipating that there was at least going to be another yellow before things were all said and done. And so Green, Hill, and Forster with their struggles at Rockingham, it would be the best way to start the round of 10 and at least get a momentum booster going into Talladega and a points gap as well. They can finish 1, 2, 3, and of course if AJ Green can get his 3rd win in the 2022 campaign, adding on to the win at Richmond and at Daytona earlier on in this season. So this will mark lap number 15 on a stint. Of course, still a long way to go, and we are still wondering how the field is going to play this strategy call. Of course, Kyle Benson, I believe him coming down pit road might have helped his case on fuel. It will definitely not help in tires. These guys will come down later than he will by a long margin, so they will beat him on the grip side of things by the time this race is all said and done. But for the fuel concerns, I think they may have been simmered. If you're Kyle Benson, they may have been destroyed altogether. And for the rest of the field, they are looking at a tight fuel window to the end of this race. It was 50 laps to go when we crossed the line on a restart. Those guys had pitted, of course, that last yellow. So this will change the game. And this will allow maybe some new calls and some risky strategies to get to the front. And the fact that we're also seeing new names at the front, I think, helps as well with the strategy play, because you see Austin Reedy, he started up in the front of the field, but we haven't seen him in the top 3 since then. Brady Weileman, you're looking at him now, the next level racing car, the rookie driver in this season. He can look for a different call. He's a non-playoff driver, so he can risk it all if he wants to get his first ever win. It's going to be a little harder for all the playoff guys to make their calls. They have to be a little safer on their side, and maybe the risks are taken, but you'd rather be safe than sorry. If it comes down to the point standings, Brandon Banks may also put in a strategy that's worth winning, as he will get to the inside of Austin Reedy stepping into turn 1. So I think this move down low will give him some more space, some more leeway. If he comes down pit road later on tonight, we may anticipate the field splitting this run in half. Maybe they don't. Maybe they wait till about 15 or so laps to go before they end up biting the bullet to come in But for the most part, if you can split it down the middle, I think that may help your case. It's just going to be a matter of tires, though, because obviously it is a certainty that you do have to come down pit road at least one more time before this race is over. But tires are going to be the deciding factor. Darlington, Rockingham, and Nashville Superspeedway, and maybe even Charlotte later on this season in this round of 10, they are tire-eating tracks. You have dealt with a lot of aggression on the track surface. You've dealt with a lot of tire grading because of the fact that these surfaces are mostly rough, and even more so this one rougher than the rest because it's one of the oldest tracks on the NASCAR calendar as Forster gets loose out of turn 4 and will potentially close in the gap between himself and Brady Weileman for third. But you are definitely going to want the newest tires, and I think managing your tire sets, that's probably going to help as well. There's Jesse Prees in the 8 machine moving his way into 8th. Craig Launslager, we saw him as the cause of our most recent caution. The harmful spin out of turn 2 for Launslager. He is now rebounded to 9th. So that does help his case to stay in the midst of this race and be able to hold on for the moment, but it hasn't been a standout effort tonight from the 13. As the 12 makes a pass on Austin Reedy, that is for P6. Coming to 30 laps to go from Darlington. And Peel set the fastest time, started on pole, and has been one of the quickest drivers so far this evening. But I think ever since the sun has come down and the track has changed, and as it has rubbered up, that 12 has somewhat stifled throughout the mid of the top 5. Jesse Prees there in the background getting loose at a turn 4. That's around the cusp of Austin Reedy, as Reedy looks to be continuing to fall short of a couple of spots. And he's getting hounded by the drivers behind, including many of them being playoff runners. And so the call may come in sooner than later. But AJ Green, for the moment, holds a 1 second gap over his teammate. And that time by set a lap a full 10th faster than Lance Hill. As he crosses the line, Hill a little bit slower that time by a couple hundredths. So I think AJ Green doing a solid job of maintaining the gap. And that's really all you can ask for at this point. With Green holding on to the lead of the race and still trying to get around Austin Reedy is Craig Launslager. Now bring in Cody Kinsey at a turn 2. Very tight off of the corner of the back straightaway on the Boeing backstretch. And here comes playoff driver Kinsey to the bottom side of the racetrack. And so they'll both try to aim around Austin Reedy, but them going to door definitely does not help. Especially given the fact that Kinsey, a Drinking Bros Racing teammate to Jesse Prees, would want to follow in the 00's footsteps for now. It is not helping as he slams a 13 into the outside wall. And now here comes Jaden Porter. That is for the last spot in the top 10. And a 12 right in front of them goes around. Lawson Peel in the 6th place falls back. The field scatters around. Nobody hits the 12, fortunately. But Peel, a mistake out of turn 2, sends his car for a quick 360. And the quarrels about making it to the end of this race are no more. Caution out with 26 laps to go. There was another car around as well. I believe it was Eric Schaefer in the 22 who had tried to escape. Lawson Peel going around. And this will be a pivotal stop for the field as Lawson Peel goes around. As he was going side by side with Brady Weileman. Peel had picked up a ton of pace in that last run, but right about here, I think where all goes wrong. Not sure whether it was contact, and yes, it was. Just weaved up a little bit too high, got to the rear, to the door side of Brady Weileman, and goes for that spin. And Austin Reedy almost getting into him on the way around. Right on board here with the 11. Watch the contact. Right here is where the spin occurs. And Reedy goes for it. The gap on the outside. Wow. And so the field on pit road for what could be the final time tonight. There's Colin Forster. AJ Green, remember he was the leader coming out of pit road. Forster will follow suit. Lance Hill in a challenge for second. And AJ Green, no challenge this time by anyone. See Lawson Peel on pit road, one of the last ones to enter. And AJ Green comes out first. Lance Hill, Colin Forster, second, third. Brandon Banks into fourth. Brady Weileman holding on to the top 5. And they are listed second on back. Christopher Bishop had stayed out, but the Juan Pablo Montoya throwback, the Clorox colors, the 2011 scheme that the Colombian ran, and I believe his penultimate NASCAR Cup Series season, or rather it was the third to last season. 2013 was the last one we saw Juan Pablo Montoya full-time in the Cup Series. And so they will head down pit road. The lead will shift hands to AJ Green in the final 24 laps of this race. So fuel now not a concern. The tire's still going to be of the utmost importance. Once we go green, we are still over 20 laps on a run. So if it stays that way, you are going to have to keep your tires clean. You're going to have to keep them wearing as less as possible on a track that has tested a lot. And for the playoff field, this is going to be most likely the most important run, maybe, of the round of 10, Talladega next week. We know how unpredictable the super speedway is going to be. The very wide 2.66 mile track over in Birmingham, Alabama. And so we are under caution once again. And this may decide who ends up getting a solid run into the round of 5, our championship round at Texas Motor Speedway, or who falls short and will have a lot more work to do at Talladega and at Charlotte in the closing races. So Austin Reedy, of course, asking in YouTube chat. He is running 6th right now on the racetrack. I was asking who caused the recent incident. That is on behalf of Lawson Peel, who went around out of turn 2 fighting with the 44 of Brady Weileman. And so Peel, with that caution, will fall all the way back to the 12th place position. So that's as far as he will go. Tony Kivet and company behind them, I believe, also had pitted. So that helps Peel's case to at least stay within the mid-pack, and maybe with the amount of time left, 23 laps left is more than enough time to get a solid cycle in on your tires and, of course, carve your way through the field. But it is going to be some hard work. So AJ Green, Lance Hill, row number 1, Green this time will start on the inside lane. Colin Forster, Brandon Banks, 2 more playoff drivers coupled in row number 2. Before you find 2 non-playoff spoilers, Brady Weileman, the rookie, and Austin Reedy on the outside. That is row number 3. And the ones out in row number 4, Jesse Priest, Cody Kinsey, 7th and 8th, and Craig Lownslugger and Jaden Porter, the 13 and the 28, are the last ones inside the top 10. 23 laps to go from Darlington, South Carolina. We'll see if AJ Green can hold on to the lead or if anybody else has a say against him. Green flag back in the air. Green with a jump to clear himself ahead of the field. And the Sox Motorsports teammates, the 1 and 99, side by side into turn 1. Hill trying to hold strong, weaves close, and multiple drivers get loose out of turn 2. They scatter all over the Boeing backstretch. Brady Weileman, a charge to the inside of the 1. This is for 3rd. The rookie driver trying to make a statement as he got around the 11, the 88. They still go side by side inside the top 5. Hill officially clears ahead for 3rd. And it is a hornet's nest. Cody Kinsey, Jesse Priest, Craig Lownslugger, a myriad of playoff drivers lost in Peel in it as well. And Lownslugger goes around as he gets tagged, hit the outside wall, got into Lawson Peel, and the caution will come out, I believe, yes. With 21 laps to go, actually no, we will stay green. How on earth did the caution not fly? Lownslugger hit the outside wall coming out of turn 2 and got into Lawson Peel, yet somehow we do not have a caution from Darlington. Here's Brady Weileman underneath Austin Reedy, trying to look for top 5, top 3, and an unbelievable set of circumstances. Lownslugger and Peel go around, and we will stay green as they fall to 15th and 16th on the racetrack. An unbelievable non-call by iRacing race control. Of course, there is no admin here in the session, so all the cautions are automatically called out by the sim. And with that spin, I would imagine that maybe for Lounslugger, things would be a little more lenient, considering the fact that he basically went around underneath the racing line, but then Lawson Peel coming back up the track and hitting the 10 of Kyle Benson. You have to imagine that has to be a yellow flag, but it does not come out. And Lounslugger, who came into this race below the cut line, may have a deep hole to dig himself out of by the time we reach Talladega. Weileman hits the outside wall, so he'll fall back to 6th and stay there as AJ Green has opened it up 1.1 seconds on his teammate Colin Forster. Remember, Hill was in 2nd out of pit road, but now just trying to hold on for dear life against the 11 of Austin Reedy, the Team Ur Designs Chevrolet, with 17 laps to go. Reedy finding a run out of turn 2 will be good enough for him to go down low, and they've caught up to the 99, so a 2-for-1 opportunity for the non-playoff driver. Remember, this is more points lost if you're these guys in the yellow banners who do not want to see a non-playoff driver, not only Reedy, but Weileman as well, puncture into the top 5 and make a statement here in the last 16 laps of this race. And what this would do is ultimately allow AJ Green to run away, and that he has done. 1.7 seconds to Colin Forster back in P2. There's a look at the gap entering turn 3. And it's all down to the 48. To avoid a caution and to keep the pace up. 15 laps to go from the track too tough to tame. They have Allstate single file, 2nd on back, but it is a large train of cars. If you make a mistake, there's no margin of error, and somebody's going to make a pass. Reedy has fallen back, so he has let Lance Hill have some breathing room as Brandon Banks and Brady Weileman go at it for the last spot in the top 5. We've seen them go at it a couple of times tonight. They're going to make contact in the middle of 3 and 4, and Banks will be able to save it, but will lose out on the fight against Weileman. Cody Kinsey, who has basically been on the outskirts of the race all evening long, he is somehow into 7th. And a race that could allow the driver who came into tonight dead last out of the top 10 to gain some more points and break even going into Talladega. Forster and Hill have broken away from Reedy and company, and now they're starting to bunch up around this group. Also inviting the 22, the 28, that's Eric Schaefer and Jaden Porter. Schaefer at one point the fastest in practice tonight. All waiting for Austin Reedy to make a mistake, and I think as Austin starts to pull away, it'll be Brady Weileman now under fire and under a lot of pressure here as Schaefer will work to the inside of his Drinkin' Bros Racing teammate, the 93, Cody Kinsey, turn 1. And Kinsey strikes the outside wall, so maybe Jaden Porter can also take an opportunity for a pass, and Schaefer makes a way down low. And so Schaefer came into this race 11 points above that top 5 cut line, should be able to keep it with a P7 finish. But of course, AJ Green getting that win isn't going to help Schaefer at all, as they are below this number 22 going into tonight. Brandon Banks trying again, hitting the reset button against the 44. With 11 laps to go into turn 1. Weileman not going to give up just yet and will stay up high. And it's been a clean battle between the 44 and the 88, the 2 double-digit numbers. They may have another double-digit number right behind them to take position away. 22 of Schaefer there, almost 3 wide. Jesse Prees on back. And this top 5 battle only getting better as Forster, Hill, and Reedy have found their own groove, have settled into their own rhythm. Reedy will try and catch the 99 and the 1 before it's all too late. But AJ Green 1.6 seconds ahead of the rest of the field with 10 laps to go. You think about how good Brandon Banks has been the whole postseason. To get into the Championship 5 in Atlanta, 1 season back in his Geico machine. as he aims to run it back in season number 4. And this finish, P6, would be a great moment for Banks, who comes into this race 9th in the standings, just above Cody Kinsey. And this extra pass here on Weileman will give him extra insurance going into Dega, but Brady Weileman almost gets turned, will be sideways, and somehow Weileman saves it with 9 to go. And now he goes around, wiggles after a couple of good shots to save the race car. Weileman spins, caution out. Now officially with 9 to go. For a moment, it looked like the 44 had it saved, but he did not. Tried to keep the throttle in it, and the car goes sideways. Here's another look at the incident. Banks goes underneath, and Weileman just lets him go, but Schaefer gives the slight hit to the 44, and him and Porter both escape, and then a beautiful save out of the 44. But right there, the car swerves to the right, and you can tell some tire tracks out of the left side of the race car. And then Weileman goes around, a little tap to the inside safer barrier that shouldn't do too much damage to Weileman's car. But it does damage track position-wise, as the rookie had a beautiful save and will now have to gain some more positions with less time remaining. Colin Forrester, Lance Hill, Austin Reedy stay out as AJ Green, your race leader, comes in for 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles. A huge call. Brandon Banks in behind him as well. I see Christopher Bishop in there, Craig Launslager. So an even split between the front of the field and everybody else, as Forrester will look to stay out. And it wasn't just Lance Hill and Austin Reedy who are not electing to take tires on this last, or maybe the last caution tonight. Jesse Prees in 4th, Cody Kinsey in 5th. Jaden Porter back in P6. He is also not pitted. Everybody 8th on back, with AJ Green coming out first. They are now in for service. So a call that can change the complexion of the race and can change the winner tonight. What was going to be predictably AJ Green, based on his pace tonight, turns into an up-in-the-air scenario. Colin Forrester, if he could win tonight, that would be a huge gain, as he came into this race within the championship 5 margin above the cut line. Will add some extra points, and surely it will gain him more so on Eric Schaefer. Not sure if it will be enough to take the points lead away outright on Lawson Peel, as Peel came in with an abundance of points after round number 1. Lance Hill, if he could get a win tonight as well, I would do the same for him. Austin Reedy, if he wins, there will be no effect in the playoff group. But everybody second on back is just going to have to fight for points. Jesse Prees, we've talked about him being into the top 5, top 10 all evening long. He may have a chance at something if the guys up front get a little bit too chaotic. His teammate Cody Kinsey for Drinkin' Bros Racing will be just behind him. Kinsey had a quiet night, and I think this would be a substantial gain for the 93 coming in. Like I mentioned, dead last, P10 in the playoff grid. As of our first race of round 1, Jaden Porter in P6. Kyle Benson in P7, and he is the last one on old tires. AJ Green and company behind are going to have to slice their way through the field if they want a chance at winning. But they will have 4 laps to settle it from Darlington Raceway. Forrester and Lance Hill looking for their 2nd win in season number 4. Austin Reedy looking for his 3rd. Jesse Prees looking for win number 1. So is Cody Kinsey. Jaden Porter looking for his 2nd. Kyle Benson looking for his 2nd. AJ Green also looking for his 3rd, much like Austin Reedy. Mark Harris looking for his 2nd. Eric Schaefer looking for his 4th. And everybody else, a myriad of playoff drivers, a sea of talent coming to line with only 4 laps remaining. Colin Forrester, Lance Hill, row number 1, Austin Reedy, Jesse Prees, your 2nd row, Cody Kinsey, Jaden Porter, your 3rd, and that 4th row with the freshest tire car in the field, AJ Green with 4 laps to get back to the front. Green flag in the air as they reach the restart zone. Forrester up and away in the final lap from Darlington. And the question is, how long will it take for AJ Green to get through the field? Gets on top of Kyle Benson, gets over Cody Kinsey, but not enough space to officially clear. They almost wreck out of turn 2, scattering across back to turn 3, and Green trying a dive move on the inside, and he'll get a tap from the 93, but we'll be back in. Colin Forrester comes out of turn 4 with 3 laps to go. And you could question whether AJ Green had that call right as he moves up to 6th. And the 48 trying to get underneath Jaden Porter, but backs out, going into 1 and 2 as Porter hits the outside wall, and around he goes. Green slams into the inside wall. Bishop, Weileman in it as well, and will the caution wave? Yes, it will. We are heading into overtime from Darlington. The hurried nature of that restart finally results in a crash. Pace car will pick up the field out of turn 2. And AJ Green, that might have been the dagger. Had a chance to win. As the call to take 4 fresh tires most likely will not work. And it looks like the time available left in the race will also not be enough for Green to get back into the running for the win. And it all started Jaden Porter up ahead of the 48, slamming the outside wall on the restart again. Green was trying to move his way through the field, and we talked about the narrowness here at Darlington. It is not easy to make passes, even when you're even with the guys on tires. And for Green, he was just trying to get himself to the front as quickly as possible. And Porter, who weaved up high, I think right there, being a couple lanes off of the dash line, was enough to predict that he was going into the wall. And Green, who was on the backside of that hit, slams into the inside, and there was another huge hit to the inside safer barrier. 2 more cars, the Juan Pablo Montoya throwback, who fortunately Bishop misses the wall, but then slams into Porter, who was just trying to slow down, and Brady Weileman goes for a huge hit. Brings a look on board with the 42. He knew he was hitting the wall, even in the middle of 1. Just felt the understeer on the car, and there's not much you could do except just lay off the throttle and hope that it rotates. And it did not. Not only for Bishop, but for the 28 of Porter and for AJ Green. He is 14th right now in the running order. It looks like his chances for his 3rd win of the season are up in smoke. Nobody pits. There's a crash here, actually under yellow. That's Austin Reedy in the inside wall. What just happened on the front straightaway? Not sure whether this was an intentional hit or not. That's Reedy swerving down in front of Tony Kivet, a name that we haven't said all night long. Kivet running also a Dale Earnhardt Sr. throwback in his bright red 76, and Reedy just swerves down low and gets tolling damage as well as heavy front end contact. So Reedy will lose a spot. Will lose his spot in the middle of the field and would basically just throw this one away as he tries to limp his 11 to pit road. A bizarre set of circumstances under yellow as we await the 1 to green signal from the pace car. And it'll be Colin Forrester, Lance Hill, who again will occupy your first row coming to green. As Austin Reedy comes down pit road, I believe Reedy does have a faster pair tonight. Left in the bag. Actually, I'm not entirely sure. No, he does not. So he stops it on a pit road. And we'll just watch the end of this one from the sidelines. And so unfortunate for Reedy, who was performing so well up until that point. And now we'll have to face a poor finish tonight from the track Too Tough to Tame. We'll reset the order for you as it stands with 2 laps to go in our first attempt at an overtime restart. Colin Forrester looking for another win here in Season 4. He'll be joined alongside by his teammate Lance Hill on the outside. Jesse Prees has stepped into 3rd. Eric Schaefer into 4th outside row 2. Kyle Benson is the last one in the top 5. Cody Kinsey will be outside P6. And then it will be 7th place Craig Lounslugger, Mark Harrison 8th, Brandon Bankson 9th, and Lawson Peel rounding out the top 10. Just got confirmation that Reedy was suffering some connection issues, so obviously no intent on the 11. As the pace car comes down, and Colin Forrester with an early jump at a turn 4 brings the field to 2 laps to go. Remember, there are still fresh tire cars trying to make their way through the field, but the buffer of old tire cars might just be too big. As Forrester shoves it into turn 3, Lance Hill trying to do as much as he can. He gets into the outside wall. They're 3 wide in turn 4. Prees in the middle. Schaefer on the bottom. Schaefer 2 for 1 to 2nd to the white flag. They scatter around, but they know that if a caution or a crash happens, no caution will wave. Colin Forrester up ahead by 0.2 of a second to Eric Schaefer, who will mount something, a last attempt into 3 and 4 for the final time from Darlington. Forrester staying ahead. Schaefer with a good run out of turn 4. He'll move to the inside, side by side. Forrester loses the spot. 4-time winner, Eric Schaefer, to the line to win at Darlington. Wow! Can you believe it? Eric Schaefer on the freshest tires of the field makes the last corner pass to win from the Lady in Black. His 4th of the season, 1st in the playoffs. And we talked at the beginning of the show how important Schaefer's 11-point gap to 5th was. And it's going to be a lot higher going into Talladega, as Schaefer will celebrate his Drinking Bros Racing teammates, offering their congratulations. That's Cody Kinsey. There's Jesse Prees, who came home tonight. Top 3, another podium finish for the driver of the 00. And the celebrations ensuing from Darlington. Eric Schaefer wins tonight. This win by Schaefer locks him in to the Championship 5 at Texas Motor Speedway. And it felt like after last season, the many close calls that Schaefer had been to a race victory multiple times, especially at the short tracks, it fell to his wayside at Pocono, at Indianapolis. Getting his 3rd at Bristol. And now doing it all over again from Darlington. Eric Schaefer, Championship 5 eligible, as he makes the move on Colin Forrester to win. So as Schaefer continues his celebrations, we'll take a look at your full field order. See exactly where everybody finished at the end of 151 laps in overtime restart. And Eric Schaefer wins his 4th race of the year. Colin Forrester just short on the last corner, trying to hold on 29-lap old tires. Jesse Prees comes home in 3rd, so Drinking Bros Racing, they have to be very happy. 1st and 3rd, and also 4th as well with Cody Kinsey in the 93. I think that is definitely a night that Cody Kinsey needed. 7 points below that cut line going into tonight's race. Lance Hill, despite the charges to try and get around his teammate, he still holds on for 5th. So I think Hill, with a lot of positivity to look forward to Talladega. Craig Lownslugger, a spin earlier on tonight, but rebounds to P6. Another great finish for the 13. Lawson Peel, who also spun earlier on tonight, is able to rebound to 7th after starting on pole. Mark Harris in the 5 ends up P8. Kyle Benson is in P9. And Ken MacArthur, out of nowhere, finalizes your top 10 from Darlington. And then here's basically the rest of the field as it stands. Brady Weileman, rookie driver in 11th. We saw him hit the inside wall with Christopher Bishop on the most recent yellow. Brandon Banks comes home 12th. Not a result that Brandon Banks needed, and not the result that Banks deserved after his performance tonight. Christopher Bishop in 13th. Jaden Porter, the rookie, in 14th. AJ Green, his crash puts him back 15th at the end of the race. He's the last car on the lead lap. Tony Kibbett will be 1 lap down in 16th. Austin Reedy had some connection issues, tried to get out of the way, got into Tony Kibbett. He finishes this race 4 laps down. Curtis Kelly, 7 laps down in P18. Tyler Warner is 19th. And Kevin D'Elia, the final one in the entire field. We had 2 drivers to start this race, including league owner Tyler Murray, that unfortunately could not make the green flag. And so that's it, our 20-car field. But it's only one at the top of the charts. Eric Schaefer, his 4th win of the season. So we'll try to head down to victory lane and get a word with the driver of the 22, who just finished completing a Polish victory lap. Obviously in honor of Alan Kowicki. And Eric Schaefer makes one last pass on the 99 of Colin Forster, getting his 4th win of the season. And an unbelievable job. A run to the wire, a drag race for sure. And Eric Schaefer gets his win. We'll try to talk to him. We'll bring him in through victory lane. And the driver of the 22, victorious once again here from the track Too Tough to Tame. Eric, unbelievable race to the finish. My question, how? I know you had fresh tires. I know you were trying to carve your way through the field, but give us your perspective, the final laps on the 2 overtime restarts, and how you feel getting your 4th win of the year, and your most important, locking you into the championship 5.
I mean, I feel pretty good, bro, but I don't know how the heck I got past Colin there at the end. I guess the freshies really didn't make that much of a difference, but yeah, the first restart when they had that giant caution, I just pinned it to the floor and prayed I made it through there, and I did.
And you find your way underneath, and on the telemetry tells us 1 lap led, the most important lap, no doubt. But not to say that you had a horrid race to start. You had a good race since the beginning. You started 11th, and you gained a lot of positions on your way to the front at the end on this overtime restart. What was it like to drive this car as the track changed, and how was it to sort of adapt, especially after your spin earlier on in tonight's event?
Be honest with you, man, the cooler the track temp got, we started at like right at 80 degrees. The cooler it got throughout the race, the looser the car got. It was actually burning the right rear and the left rear a lot more than the fronts were. So we were having to throttle it up and manage the throttle just like an Xfinity car. So that's what I'm used to running around here. So that's what kind of helped out in the long run a lot, was just being able to manage the throttle pressure on the gas, and it ultimately just paid off.
And of course, fresh tires. You were alongside the group of AJ Green, and walk us through what behind that call in the final laps of the race as the caution waved, and how it was just trying to get around the traffic, especially as you were 3 wide at one point in the middle of 3 and 4 in the last laps.
Yeah, when I saw AJ and them, I saw AJ pit and then everybody else stay out, I was like, well, I know what I'm doing. I'm pitting. The only reason being is because, and I know you know, Kenneth, from this, the tires are so key here, man. It's so much of a fall off, even with like 5 or 6 laps on tires. So I figured I'd pit and take my chances. But yeah, when I went 3 wide right there, I didn't expect Lance to check up that hard in front of Jesse, and when he did, it allowed me to shoot to the inside, and I got up and just doored Jesse a hair bit. Didn't mean to do all that, but I think we made it through there pretty decently. But yeah, I was not expecting to at least get up to Colin, man. That was unexpected, but it was a good race, I think.
So the call pays off in the final laps on that last overtime restart. You win your 4th one of the season, and it's the one that gets you into the championship 5. Now that you're locked in, what's the game plan for the rest of the round, and how do you feel now being a championship 5 entrant, and what you're going to do to get your title at Texas Motor Speedway later in the year?
Feel pretty good, man. It definitely has a boost of confidence and momentum going towards the end now. I just right now in the next race, I'm being able to help my teammates as much as I can to see if any of them can get in, do what I can to help them out, you know. But no, it's definitely a huge momentum boost, man. I'm really looking forward towards Texas, man. I really like that track.
And you mentioned there your Drinking Bros racing teammates, all of you running some sort of Dale Earnhardt tribute paint scheme. I thought that was really cool. All of you guys in coalition with that. You, the silver scheme tonight, and your teammate Cody Kinsey, and your teammates, well, Jesse Priest, Cody Kinsey finishing 3rd and 4th. That's got to help a lot for them as well in their hunt to also join you into the championship 5. Eric, before we let you go on this momentous win from Darlington, anybody you want to thank for making it all possible?
Yeah, man. The paint schemes was actually Jesse's idea. He actually created all these paint schemes for everybody. So shout out to him and his graphic content thing that he does with all his paints. Shout out to the Drinkins Bros guys, Reefer Speed Labs, Paul Setup Shop, e- especially to you. Appreciate everything you do with putting on a broadcast and everything. Tyler and all the admins in the league, and just thanks to everybody for coming in watching tonight, and thanks to all the drivers in the league, man. It was a pretty fun race.
Well, we certainly appreciate the kind words, Eric. And of course, on behalf of our team, a huge congratulations on tonight's win from Darlington Raceway in the Nightfall as you get that last corner pass on Colin Forrester to get your 4th win. Of course, best of luck into the rest of the round, but congratulations, you are officially in the Championship 5. Go enjoy it.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you very much.
It's Eric Schaefer, your winner here tonight, and that was a crazy move on the bottom 3 wide. Jesse Priest and the one of Lance Hill there as Hill hit the outside wall, 3 and 4, coming to the white flag. We'll look back to P2, and the driver on the other end of the stick is one that made a call to stay out, but fortunately stays in 2nd. It's the 99 of Colin Forster, who comes home just behind your race winner. Colin, I know, of course, not the greatest sight to see on the last corner of the last lap as you're watching the checkered flag fly with Barney the flagman, but give us your experience staying out on that caution and what happened there on the last couple of restarts.
I mean, I fired off well. The reason I stayed out is because I knew the cold tires were not going to fire off as well as the older tires, and I figured it'd take them a lap or 2 to just get them warmed up, and I knew we were only going green with 4 to go, I think, and it was going to take a little bit for them to get fired up, but I knew they were going to make up spots quick, so I just weighed my options. As soon as I seen AJ go down, I just decided to stay out, and almost worked out, but as soon as Schaefer got under me, it just started pushing really, really bad. Because he was one of the ones that took new tires, but it just started pushing really bad, and I didn't want to hit the wall and wreck him, but I figured I'd just settle for P2, be good in the playoffs, and hopefully prepare for Dagan next week and see what happens there.
We'll talk about Dega in just a couple of moments. We know how crazy that is. I think everybody knows how crazy Dega is going to be in just 1 week time. But talk us through this transition. You make it through with your teammates, Lance Hill, AJ Green. They were joining you around the top 5 in the playoff point standings going into this round. But it came after a somewhat of a struggle race at Rockingham Speedway where you had some opening pace, but then you fell a lap down. Your teammate, AJ Green, also kind of in the same scenario. What went on in your guys' minds, not only you, but for your whole team, going after Rockingham to say, hey, we need to do better, and for Darlington, what was a turnaround effort for the entire team?
Yeah, Rockingham, we just messed up the strategy there. I think AJ was honestly probably one of the fastest cars. He probably had top 3 car, I'm pretty sure, but we just messed up the strategy there. Stay on old tires, figuring we'd get a caution because of how tight Rockingham is just as a track, but messed up the strategy there, but we learned just take tires here unless it's like 5 to go, and don't take tires unless you're AJ, but that did not seem to work out for him.
So I know it's not the win here tonight from Darlington, but like you said, it should help out for the case of Talladega and Charlotte in the rest of this round of 10. Now moving into Talladega and Charlotte Motor Speedway, the final 2 races of the round. What are your thoughts about those 2 tracks and how you're going to attack those to keep your points lead over the cut line intact, or maybe even to get a win there to lock yourself into the championship round and go back-to-back championship rounds in Season 3 and Season 4?
I mean, yeah, I mean, anyone can win at Talladega. You really never know what's going on there. I think I'll have a pretty decent chance there. I've run well on restrictor plates recently. Well, I guess they're not restrictor plates anymore. I'll just call it super speedways. I run pretty well with super speedways now. I've just been running a lot of A and B and C car there. So, I mean, Charlotte. I'm not really looking forward to Charlotte because these cars are super tight, and Charlotte's just a super tight track. It's just a 1-lane track. I ride the yellow line, or not yellow line, it's the blue line there, and just kind of bottom feed there and just hope you save your tires well enough. And I think Lawson will do really well there, actually. That's one of his better tracks, but I'll just try and stay consistent, smooth, and play the right strategy, and hopefully we can just make it to the final 5.
And of course, looking for your second straight appearance into the Championship 5 alongside your teammates, AJ Green, Adam Alashar. No, Alashar unfortunately forfeited his spot, but you and AJ Green still within that range to go into the Championship 5 2 seasons in a row. Colin, before we let you go, from the track Too Tough to Tame, anybody you want to thank for making it all possible? I know you got the Martini colors tonight, so a beautiful paint scheme on your behalf, but anybody else you want to thank for your performance tonight?
Shout out to everyone on Stonks. I mean, we ran pretty well. AJ messed up there at the end by staying out, but worked out for me and Lance. I know Lance and Jesse had a little contact there at the end, but I'm sure they'll get over it. Also, shout out to you guys, or you doing the broadcast tonight. I'm sure Francisco is enjoying himself. Also, shout out to everyone in the league for running it. Look forward to these races every Wednesday night. Super fun. Probably one of the most fun leagues I've ever been in.
Well, we certainly appreciate the time, Colin. Of course, on behalf of our team, want to send you a congratulations, a great run P2 tonight here from Darlington, and of course, wishing you the best of luck in the round of 10. We'll see you at Talladega.
All right, appreciate it.
That's Colin Forster in the 99 for Stonks Motorsports. 11 laps led to his credit, stayed out, and is still able to hold on for second. You got to think if the laps are a little bit shorter, Colin Forster could have been a winner tonight, but still, I think despite the last lap pass by Schaefer, there's a lot to be happy about in that 99 camp. The Martini colors flying to P2 tonight. We'll talk to our other Drinkin' Bros racing driver who ends up in the top 3. This time, Jesse Perez in the 0 car. And Jesse, we talked to Eric a couple of moments ago as the winner, and he said you were the mind behind the Dale Sr. throwback paint schemes. First of all, before we get into the details of the race, walk us through the idea of the whole Dale Earnhardt throwback and the whole theme tonight from Darlington out of the DVR guys.
We're all pretty big Earnhardt fans, and then they saw I made this one up, and me and Shape got to talking about it. Thought, we could just make them in different colors here and run all the different ones, and it'll look pretty cool on the stream. But they look pretty good up there.
Indeed, they did. A lot of great throwbacks to the 7-time champion in the NASCAR Cup Series. But let's talk about the race. Of course, you finished P3 tonight. Eric Schaefer, your teammate, was on your tail on fresh tires. Walk us through those last 2 overtime restarts and your call, along with Colin Forster and gang, to stay out.
Yeah, I didn't feel very comfortable on new tires for some reason, especially later here in the race. It seemed to, and I was talking to Colin there, and he thought the same thing. The car felt really tight on fresh tires for some reason, and I'm not sure why. I was hoping I'd have more cars in between me and the freshies back there, but that other caution there kind of hurt, and then brought Shafe up there. And I trying not to hold him up, and then there you saw get in the back of Lance, and I definitely did not mean to do that. I apologize for that. I did not expect him to check up that much. I don't know if he got in a little funny or something, but definitely was not trying to do that.
So he ended up staying out. Of course, his 3rd place finish after a dominant performance at the Rockingham Speedway in the last race of the round of 15. Now coming into this round, before tonight's finish, you were -6 on the boards underneath that cut line for the top 5. Obviously, tonight should help with the fact that Craig Lounslugger finished a couple spots behind you. Brandon Banks also did the same. Cody Kinsey was 1 spot behind you, so you guys should about even out. What's the mindset now going into Talladega and Charlotte, the final 2 races in this round, to try and secure yourself a Championship 5 spot?
Well, Talladega, you just gotta hope you can survive there and pull something out of our hat late, but we've got to try to get out of there without a horrible race. And I'm not sure what to think of these things at Charlotte. I haven't ran the next gen much there, so I guess we'll see how that goes. I ran decent in the B cars there, but I don't know about this one. Should be interesting though.
Of course, still a third place to be remembered here from the track Too Tough to Tame. Jesse, before we let you go here from Darlington, moving on to Talladega, anybody you want to thank for making this run possible?
Yeah, you guys putting on the stream, man, you do a heck of a broadcast. And Murray and everybody for putting on the league. They put up with a lot of crap from us, and appreciate them guys. And then obviously my Drinking Bros guys. So got a shout out again, Elite, for the setups in my open stuff, and then say hello to my daughter Cadence.
Well, we certainly appreciate the time, Jesse. Of course, on behalf of our team at MaxSpeedTV, want to thank you for all your support and the kind words. And of course, congratulations on the podium finish here tonight from Darlington. I'm again looking at this 3-wide move your teammate made underneath you in the middle, and you were able to survive out of all of that. A great finish here tonight from Darlington, and wishing you the best of luck in Talladega and Charlotte in a couple of weeks' time.
Thanks, Kenneth.
So Jesse Prees in the 0 ends up third place here tonight from the track Too Tough to Tame. And that rounds out our segment, the driver interviews. And this pass, one of two for Eric Schaefer to get to the very front. Obviously, the last one out of turn 4 on Colin Forster. But it got very tight as the Drinking Bros Racing were inside and middle, 3 wide. Lance Hill on the very outside of that. And Lance Hill also came home P5. So also got to give credit on the Old Tire Brigade for Lance Hill, who definitely could have gotten a better finish, but I think still definitely happy and survived for the most part at the end of a lapse and the end of a race that could be described as insane. In the last leg with green flag pit stops, you think about the ideas of the crashes and who was involved in them, the spins that came out at certain points in time, the whole fuel concern that was out there. So many things to consider. And that, of course, takes us through another race and will bring us to our next. Talladega Superspeedway is the next one on the calendar. The first time we visit the track over in Alabama. That'll be next week, July 20th. Of course, same time, same place, 9:10 p.m. Eastern right here on the MaxSpeedTV YouTube channel. Before we conclude our round of 10 and decide the other 4 that will join Eric Schaefer in the Championship 5, Charlotte Motor Speedway, well, former site of a championship a couple of seasons back, will be the penultimate race of the season. And then when we decide our Championship 5, we'll roll to the green on August 3rd with a shot at a title for 5 drivers at the Texas Motor Speedway. So for everyone involved in making this 4-wide Racing Cup Series what it is today, for league owner Tyler Murray and everyone on behalf of the admin team and the race council, and from all of us at MaxSpeedTV, for Francisco Bacalhau, my name is Kenneth Bueno, here from Darlington, saying so long. We'll see you at Talladega in 1 week time. But congratulations to Eric Schaefer making a last corner pass on the last lap for win number 4 and win number 1 in the playoffs.